Most of the information in this case is coming from the activists themselves and from the media reports that have been put out as a result of interviews that they have given. Now, what it looks like so far, the picture of this case, is that 11 people who claim they were held against their will and forced to work as slaves were freed from a small grocery shop, a Produkty, much like the one I'm standing right in front of right here. Their grocery shop was actually at Ulica Novosibirskaya. Now, they told rescuers they were forced to work with no pay. They were forced to give up their documents. They were beaten, sometimes sexually abused and mentally abused. If they ever tried to escape and tell the authorities, they were brutally beaten. One female actually managed to escape after many years of being forced to work for these people at the Produkty. She escaped, and with the help of some other women who had also been held against their will, managed to contact a Russian organization called the Transhumanist Movement. Now, it was as a result of this contact that 11 people stormed the grocery shop in the early morning hours of the 30th. Unfortunately, according to the activists, the shopkeepers themselves were able to escape out a back door, but the number of the children that had been held against their will and disappeared to an unknown place. Now, we spoke with the activists today who did the rescuing of those 11 people, and here is what they told us.
People were kept there from 1 month to 10 years. There were many women and small children. Before we took them out of the shop into our bus, they didn't talk. They were frightened. We took them to the nearest police station where they've all been kept for 14 hours. Only after 9 hours of waiting did they start taking statements from us. Then the officer said the people would be transferred to the unit for the illegal migrants. One of the women gave us some addresses where more people are being kept.
Lindsay, any word on what will happen to the suspects?
Well, so far, the investigative committee is looking into the situation, but there is no official case that has been opened for investigation, and nothing has been announced from the Interior Ministry so far. Now, activists say they feel there is a lack of responsiveness to this problem on the part of the police. Let's listen to what they had to say about how they feel this is being handled at this point.
What we see is a clear unwillingness from the police to intervene. We have reasons to believe that the authorities are deliberately ignoring this case. We have the names of those responsible for this atrocity, but no one's been arrested yet. We managed to catch 2 of them sneaking into the shop at night to destroy the evidence. We called the police, but we don't know what's happening now. The shop owner is free, and she keeps calling the victims, threatening them and offering money.
Now, though, at this time, they have acted essentially without the guidance of law enforcement. Activists do stress they're doing everything they can to work within the law to get this sort of work done. Now, if a case is officially opened, it will be the first ever case of slavery in Moscow's history.
See, what's going to happen to the people that were apparently held against their will there?
At this point, some of the activists have kept the people with them in their apartments. Some were taken to the hospital for treatment, and there's no info as of yet on whether they have been discharged. Now, activists in this situation are looking for all sorts of help. We've got their Twitter accounts, their Twitter addresses up on the screen, and if anyone would like to help out, anything from offering a bed to clothing or even food. If you're willing to donate money to help these people stay in a hostel. The activists are really looking for all the help they can get. There are families in this situation, women with children who need protection and need help. So if you would like to offer your support, you're more than welcome to. Just grab those Twitter addresses on the screen, and the activists are keeping us all very updated on the situation as it unfolds.
Our correspondent Lindsay France, thank you so much for that. And I'm already joined in the studio by Dmitry Medvedenko, who's here for the Business Bulletin. But, oh my, what a story.
It's just a horrible story.
I find it particularly chilling that this is going to be the first registered case of slavery in Moscow. It can't it surely can't be the first case, but the fact that
the things
like this are becoming more transparent and they are being uncovered.
The things people do just to save up a little money. Yeah, they could have just, hired these workers and paid them wages, but they decided not to, and this is why they had to go through this. If they did, allegedly, yes, and then it's just horrible to think about, what people are capable of, isn't it? But there was a similar case in Kiev a few years back, and I remember reading about it, and that also shocks me. You could say
these things happen now and again, and it's just, it's a shocker for the public, I should say. All right, let's push things on. I'm sure you've got a packed bulletin.
On a more brighter note and a jolly note, Moscow's skyline is now officially, again, the tallest in Europe. It's not the first time. Now, despite the global downturns, roofs have been rising, and as Nick Poole reports, a new standard is being set by a gold and white tower in the heart of the capital's financial district, Moscow City.
All hail Europe's new tallest building. Moscow's Mercury City has reached its full height of 339 metres. That's 29 metres higher than the previous record holder, the Shard in London. Due to be finished in the spring of next year, it'll offer mixed real estate for apartments, retail space and offices. It's taken 6 years to build, and a cost of more than $1 billion. It'll be the crown jewel in the empire of Russian retail tycoon Igor Kiseev.
Back in 1991, in New York, I had that dream to build a skyscraper. So now this dream has been realized. Whether we're going to build another one, we'll see. But one thing I can tell you for sure, that I do not regret any single day of it, because we really enjoyed the whole process.
Taller may be better when it comes to skyscrapers, but it's not necessarily more expensive. Compared to London's Shard, for instance, a nice apartment here will cost a relatively modest $3 million compared to the $30 million they're charging for a pad next to the Thames. There's no shortage of high-rise space in Moscow. It's the skyscraper capital of Europe with 4 of the 5 tallest buildings. But that's probably going to be it, as the authorities have stopped handing out licenses, ensuring this golden white tower will not be lost in the crowd.
Now this, if I'm not mistaken, this isn't the only skyscraper that is here in Moscow and is in Europe's top 10 tallest buildings.
Well, basically, Moscow City, the financial district, has many skyscrapers, and they're all in the top 10 at least. Well, I've got a list here. Well, this Mercury City Tower. Mercury City Tower we've just been talking about is now the tallest one. Also, 2012, Moscow was. Before Shard took it over from London.
Right. I wanted to ask about that one, because up until now it was the tallest building.
It was for a very short while, until they inaugurated this Mercury Tower. But there's also the Moscow Tower, then there's the Naberezhnaya Tower C, the Triumph Palace, if you know this skyscraper, and the Stalin buildings like Hotel Ukraina.
The Seven Sisters.
Yes, the Seven Sisters are also among the top 20. So there's 8 out of 15 tallest buildings in Europe are in Russia, indeed.
However, I don't really get it. Russia's big and flat, and why do we even sort of build tall if we can?
If there's so much land,
we can just spread out.
Yeah, well, it would make sense for small countries like where there's a lot of population, like in China. China's big, but the population's of course so high,
much larger than here. Or countries with high mountainous areas.
And I don't really see logic in that. But the thing is that in Moscow,
you don't have a lot of flat land, like in Japan, for example. So you have to build tall.
Okay. In that respect, yes. But the thing is, indeed, Russia and Moscow, for example, have a lot of land, but Moscow is so expensive. It's so financial centric that, of course, it would be so much cheaper to build in Siberia, like a huge complex. But the logistics of that, would be
It's all about money again.
It's all about money again. So people are basically saving up. They're buying a little bit of land to build very high. So it's all about, again, generating profits.
Gotcha.
That's the thing. All right, we are number one, indeed, in terms of the highest building in Europe, but Russia has maintained 39th position among the world's financial centers, according to this year's ranking by the World Economic Forum. And they say Russia has shown improvements in its banking sector and the operation of the stock market. Country is rated third in the world for attracting capital via share issues. Now, Russia is also among the leaders for cheap property registration, but the procedure is complicated, which takes some of the shine off that rating. The ruble is stable, but businesses face difficulties with access to some financial recourses and resources. I have to correct myself. Corruption was again named Russia's worst problem. Only in Ukraine, Kenya and Venezuela the situation is worse, according to that list. Right, to business matters now. Norwegian telecoms operator Telenor is finally ready to sell its stake in Russia's second biggest mobile provider, VimpelCom. This deal could reach $6.4 billion and it could signal an end to a decade-long ownership battle. Telenor and Alfa have been arguing over every move in courts in Russia, the US and other countries since 2005, as none has a controlling stake in the company. Experts say now the Norwegian provider is likely to ask for a 15% premium to the market price. VimpelCom's shares rallied almost 3% on New York Stock Exchange on Wednesday. More corporate news. Starting from 2016, InterRAO will be buying most of its gas from Russia's energy major Rosneft. Now, the companies have agreed on a 25-year contract. Indeed, this is a long span, which analysts estimate is worth up to $130 billion. The gas will come from Rosneft's oil fields and will help the company improve the usage of the oil-dissolved gas, which usually gets burned off in flares. Right, let's take a look at currency rates. These are central banks' fixed rates for you. And the ruble is slightly stronger against the basket of the dollar and the euro, as you can see there. Equities here in Moscow have finished the session with gains. Second day in a row, we're having the RTS and MICEX showing moderate gains within 1%, around 0.5%. And that's on the back of actually external factors coming from China and the United States. We've got consumer confidence in the US higher. We've got a jobs report which came in better than expected. So basically a recovering, apparently, economy in the United States is helping Russian shares gain along with, there you go, my tongue is twisted, with every other market in the world pretty much today. Two other matters now. You may soon have to pay for any luggage that you take in on an airplane in Russia. The Transport Ministry is considering allowing carriers to require payment for every kilo of luggage that goes in the plane's hold. Currently, air companies allow passengers to take up to 20 kilos, which is included in the price of every ticket. Lawmakers say that's one of the factors that's holding back the development of true budget airlines and low-costers in Russia. Other ideas include charging customers for anything they eat or drink on the plane. And finally, there are now 40 million computer game players in Russia. Mail.ru Group says this is generating revenues of over $1 billion annually. All segments have shown significant recent growth, with social network games in the lead. Number of people playing those games has trebled in the last year.
The market's really changed. I know we're showing these people sitting in internet cafes, sort of, but
they're a thing of the past, mostly, yes.
I suppose they still exist, but it's a closed community. I think the majority of people who would consider themselves interested in online gaming would probably be using, sort of portable tablets or something like that.
I think this statistic, because 40 million out of is like almost, a quarter of the population of Russia. Yeah. I think if you've ever played Angry Birds on your iPad, then you're considered a computer game player, and they've sold 12 million of these. But it's interesting how this market is basically changing around the world, that people are moving back to the simple and basic things, like like a little game on their iPad instead of very complicated high-tech games on their computers or their PlayStation.
Those still do exist. They're fantastic. I've seen one in a shopping mall the other day being promoted, and they're 3D. They're massively 3D. Anyway, the Russian market is quite unique, and it's very different to that of the other world. Why?
Because mostly the audience of computer games is people around the world from 35 to 45, actually, and they play sophisticated, computer game consoles, 1-2 hours a week. In Russia, this is the young generation mostly, and they play computer games because they're just so much more accessible. You don't actually have to buy them in Russia because so much pirated software is just available for download online, and that's why people just choose to play games traditionally on their computer rather than these expensive games that you have to buy for around $50 each.
Yeah. Any information about how much time these people spend playing?
Oh, that varies from person to person.
That varies on their work hours, huh?
Completely.
Right, Dmitry, thank you very much. And I've got a story for our viewers now. Here goes. Russian businessman Platon Lebedev, who was jailed for his involvement in Russia's infamous Yukos scandal, has had his prison term for corruption reduced by 3 years. He will walk free next July. Primetime's Sean Thomas has more and joins us live now. Sean, good evening to you. Please tell us, why has this ruling been made?
Well, this decision specifically relates to Platon Lebedev, who is the former head of Minatep, and he's also the partner of the notorious Mikhail Hodorkovsky of Yukos fame. Now, specifically, his sentence was reduced from 13 years to 10 years. Now, let me take you back through what led us to this particular decision. Back in 2005, both men were convicted of tax evasion, and then again they were retried in 2010 and convicted then of stealing oil from their companies. Now, last year, Dmitry Medvedev, then president, introduced reforms specifically for white-collar crimes, which paved the path, if you will, for today's decision. Basically, what he was suggesting and what he implemented was that white-collar crimes, in order to lessen the criminal sentence or decriminalize these activities, instead of a harsh time spent in prison, he was asking more for financial compensation that more fit the crime, if you will. So to clear up some of the time in the prisons. Now, also, based on this softening of the criminal code, if you will, this same court, this local court in Arkhangelsk, which made the decision today, then made a decision about Lebedev then, but the problem is that both the prosecution and the defense didn't think this lessening was fair, and so there was an appeal. They both appealed the process, which led to this particular decision, bringing the sentence from 13 years to 10 years. Now, specifically, if you look at what Lebedev's lawyers are saying, they are saying that this is the closest that they can come to a fair, and just, and humane sentence. They're not planning to appeal this particular sentence. If you look at what this is, Lebedev has actually spent 10 years in custody. He is in his 10th year right now, which means in July 2013, next summer, he's eligible to be released.
Thank you very much. With the latest, our correspondent Sean Thomas. And the expulsion from Parliament of Opposition Deputy Gennady Gudkov may have been illegitimate. The prosecutor's office says it is no grounds for initiating legal proceedings against him. Deputies voted to expel Gudkov from the Duma in September, after he was accused of running a business, something MPs are forbidden from doing. Gudkov's son Dmitry, himself a Duma deputy, now hopes his father will be allowed to return to the Parliament and also given an apology. But Gudkov Sr. says he'll only come back if obliged to do so by the Constitutional Court. He says there's no room for debate or different points of view in the current State Duma. new web portal allowing the public to report sites that host illegal content has launched today. And from the moment it went live, it's been flooded with submissions. Primetime's Madina Kochinova joins me now with more information on the issue. Madina, good evening to you. First off, how does this new blacklisting site work exactly?
Well, websites will not get on this blacklist automatically. First, a governmental body that strictly monitors and controls the spread of the illegal content, which is called Roskomnadzor, will send a notification to the owner of the website where some amount of illegal or offensive content has been found. And if in a certain, quite a short amount of time, there is no reaction coming from the owner or from the host provider, then this website goes straight onto this blacklist. Meanwhile, it's going to be available also for regular internet users to check whether certain websites are on this blacklist already by filling out a certain form. So this information is also going to be available to the public.
We're already saying that it's been flooded with requests, eavesdropping. How's the site done on its first day?
Well, indeed, from the moment it went live, and it went live at midnight this Thursday, it was really flooded with different submissions. Just in the first 15 minutes of its work,